Hi, so another of the Keith Robinson interviews series. Those of you that follow what we do already know my good buddy James Whitelock did a fantastic interview with me, probably the fall last year at the first TRU conference. James and I are just going to meet up today, and it's what I would call one of Keith's classic rambling, marginally unprepared, but let's see what comes out of it conversations. James, talking earlier on, job boards. Boy, there's been so much publicity and negativity and they're dead and whatever else. You built a job board business pretty much from scratch, even though technically it was never meant to be a job board, but it turned out in many countries of the world to sort of feature in the top 10. Your fantastic Dover project. What's your take on job boards today?
Well, I think they're still facing some pretty difficult times, to be honest. Speaking from an agency point of view, which I'm still part of, and the last 18 months have been pretty difficult. And so what we've found is that a lot of our companies have started to become pretty savvy when it comes to measuring the effectiveness of the job boards that they've been using. So job board usage, because of that measurement, has probably much gone down because it's forced our companies. I know this is probably from an Empresaria point of view, but probably very key to a lot of other companies. It's been forced to sit down, measure, and understand that are the boards they're using, are they being effective? Are they getting value for money? Are they getting a return on investment? And ROI, I think, is what's driven the usage of boards down. From our perspective, a lot of our companies have reduced the amount of boards specifically to the very niche boards that are representative of the industry they're sitting in. A lot of the traditional boards, the larger ones, so that's the kind of monsters, etc., we've really stopped using because it's been very difficult to get candidates from them and to get any return on investment from those kind of boards. So from a niche point of view, I think it's been quite difficult for those larger boards. I mean, they're still there, they're still running. They're having to change their ways of working because they're now thinking about things like social media, like all of us are. So they're now thinking about how they can tap into these new medias, because that's really for us in areas that we've replaced our job board usage, and we're starting to look at other means of marketing and drawing in that candidate traffic. So we're now looking at obvious things like SEO, but putting a lot more effort into those. Things like social media, that's the big topic in a minute, is just driving candidates from things like social media. So that's where the boards really have got to kind of keep an eye on. It's the places, it's these Facebooks and it's the LinkedIns, it's the Twitters of this world where the real challenge towards the boards is going to come, not necessarily from the agencies not using them, but it's from the agencies looking at other channels, and also the candidates being used to using other channels, and being from the way that social media works is that it finds you, not you find it, and so there's no need necessarily now these days for a candidate to kind of go put their CV and upload their CV onto a job board. They will put their CV once up on LinkedIn. They'll create their profile on LinkedIn. They'll create their profile on Facebook, and people will come find them instead of them have to go do the searching themselves. And that's the big change, and that's what the job boards really have to try and get their head around. Is that change in the mentality of the candidate, in the fact that jobs will find them, not they will find jobs.
Follow-up question then, focusing on job boards. So job boards in one sense have been hit by a double whammy. A recession which made people actually start to focus on ROI, and a completely new raft of technologies which have morphed themselves into social media. Looking at job boards per se, you've been in what I would call the job board space now for about 7 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Where do you think job boards are going to need to evolve in the future if they are going to not necessarily survive, but continue to take the kind of market share they've been able to take?
Well, as I said, social media is something they need to look into, and then they need to be able to kind of tap into those new markets and those new technologies. So that's one area. A certain amount of value for money. It was the days when you were still using print advertising, and that was very expensive. Then online came along, and it was very cheap. And now those prices rose and rose and rose and rose and rose. But now along comes social media, and then you can do that almost for free. So the business model of what a job board is needs to be kind of reevaluated, I think, because you have to remember that a job board is a business proposition and a business model. It's not just a website; it's a business, and so the funding of this business needs to be kind of looked at again. So if you were running a job board, you've got to take serious measures into your rate cards, whether you do free postings, whether you're charging only for corporates, whether you're only charging for agencies, whether you're only charging for banner advertising. All those kinds of models now have to be kind of reevaluated, because I think they're all being kind of eaten into by social media, because it can be done for almost the social media is time, it's not cost anymore, and that's what social media. For instance, you can have a group on LinkedIn, you can have your own little mini job board on LinkedIn, and it costs you nothing apart from the time it takes you to put those jobs up there. And if you've got a successful group on LinkedIn, there's no reason why you couldn't be getting, not necessarily generating the same kind of traffic, but you could be generating the same quality of traffic.
Do you actually think that maybe the heyday of the job boards is over, or do you think that as we come out of recession and talent becomes tougher to find, that actually job boards and job board revenues, will grow again?
No, I think they'll grow again. I think the boards and online recruitment and agencies go hand in hand. I think there's always a need from one to the other. I think there'll always be a need for boards, and the people who kind of seem to think that boards are dead and buried, and that their time is gone, I think that's a little premature. I think boards, the savvy boards will change their model slightly. They'll start to make it easier, and they'll be more interactive with and engaging with the candidates and clients online. But I don't think they're going to disappear. I think there's still a need for boards out there. As I said, our companies are still using boards. They're niche boards, but for instance, those niche boards might be part of larger networks anyway. So I think that there's still a hand-in-hand relationship with boards, and I think there's still trust for the job boards, the ones that work. I think if you're starting a new board, it's going to be pretty difficult for you, I think, in a minute. But as long as you can build that trust and you can keep that engagement, I think boards still have a life out there.